Okay, so thinking about becoming an investment advisor. Huh. Interesting choice. And probably a lot more interesting than people realize. You know how it goes? You tell someone you're considering this career path, and they instantly picture someone, like, in a pinstripe suit, glued to a Bloomberg terminal all day.
It's an image that persists, for sure. It's
Right.
practically its own cliche at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we've got a stack of insights from RoleCatcher here, and let me tell you, it's about way more than just picking stocks. This deep dive is going to be interesting.
It absolutely is. What I find fascinating is how RoleCatcher defines the role. They highlight this whole idea of providing expert financial guidance to individuals, families, ensuring financial well-being. Like, that's a pretty broad scope.
Yeah, the human element really jumps out, doesn't
It
it?
really does. And what's more, that human element is actually backed by a legal obligation, which I think sometimes gets lost. RoleCatcher is very clear about the concept of fiduciary duty, which is a huge point.
Right.
It means an investment advisor is legally obligated to put their client's best interests first, not their own, not their firm's, but the client's.
Which, when you say it like that, makes perfect sense, but I bet that's news to a lot of people.
It's a fundamental principle that often gets overlooked, unfortunately.
And speaking of things that get overlooked, I was surprised by the sheer variety of services RoleCatcher lists for investment advisors. It's not just about stocks and bonds, is it? We're talking retirement planning, estate planning, even things like basic budgeting advice.
It's really about crafting a holistic financial strategy, which means understanding a client's full picture, not just one piece of it. And that can be complex.
Right. It's about guiding them toward overall financial well-being, which, depending on your interests and someone's stage of life, could mean very different things.
Precisely. And that's where those core skills and abilities come in, which we can dive into now if you're ready.
So it sounds like to really nail this whole investment advisor thing, you need to be a people person, not just a numbers person.
Got it.
Which makes sense when you think about it, but what are the actual skills you need to hone to be successful, especially in such a, constantly changing field like finance?
Well, RoleCatcher actually dives into this. They have a whole section on the specific functions and core abilities needed to thrive as an investment advisor. And some of them are, well, intriguing, to say the least.
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
Okay, take, for instance, critical thinking. They're not just talking about, being able to analyze market trends or understand some complex financial product.
Right.
They're talking about being able to think clearly under pressure, especially when your clients are freaking out.
Because let's be honest, the market can be a real roller coaster sometimes, and emotions can run high.
Exactly. You need to be that steady hand, that voice of reason that helps them make rational decisions, even when, things get a little crazy.
So you need to be able to manage your own emotions first and foremost.
It's essential, I think, in this field. And it's not just about being a calming presence. You also need to be able to communicate, like, really complex stuff in a way that actually makes sense to your clients, who probably aren't financial experts. That's where persuasion comes in.
Okay, see, this is where it gets interesting to me. Because when I hear persuasion, I immediately think of, like, those, used car salespeople. All slick back hair and trying to overpromise and underdeliver.
No, not at all. Remember that whole fiduciary duty thing we talked about?
Right.
Persuasion, in this context, is about being able to explain why a certain strategy is in their best interest, even if it's not the most exciting option or the shiniest.
So it's more about education than anything else.
Yes. Empowering them to make informed decisions, even if they don't want to hear it sometimes.
Which kind of brings us to, well, this whole human versus machine thing that everyone's talking about these days. I mean, even RoleCatcher itself uses AI for things like optimizing CVs and even interview prep.
It's true. Technology is definitely becoming a bigger player in the financial world.
So how does that impact someone who actually wants to be an investment advisor? Is AI a friend or foe? I don't know. It's kind of freaking me out. So AI is here to stay. Got it. But how do you actually break into this field? Where do you even begin to build the skills and experience to stand out? Especially with all this talk about robo-advisors coming in and taking everyone's jobs.
Yeah, that's the big question, right? But RoleCatcher actually offers some really practical advice in their Getting Started section. And what I find interesting is they don't necessarily expect you to have, investment banker on your resume already.
Okay, so what are they looking for then?
They emphasize the importance of hands-on experience, taking initiative, that kind of thing. They even suggest internships or joining an investment club.
Oh, you know what? That reminds me of this person I met who landed this incredible job at a wealth management firm. And they didn't come from like a Wall Street background or anything, but they had been super active in their university's investment club. Yeah, and it really showed like real passion, a willingness to learn. And the recruiter ate it up.
Absolutely. It's all about demonstrating genuine interest, taking the initiative to learn outside of just a classroom setting.
Makes sense. And I guess even just like managing your own portfolio is another way to get that hands-on
Oh,
experience.
absolutely. You don't need to be managing, millions of dollars for clients to start understanding how markets work, how to assess risk, that kind of thing.
Because let's be real, it's probably a lot easier to stay calm and rational when it's not your own money on the line, right?
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. Managing your own money, even a small amount, can teach you so much about yourself, your risk tolerance, how you react to volatility. It's invaluable.
So it's like a crash course in both financial literacy and emotional intelligence all in one.
Precisely. And those are skills that will serve you well no matter where your career path takes you, frankly.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive then, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
I think the biggest thing is this. Becoming a successful investment advisor in today's world, it's about more than just numbers and algorithms. It's about being a good listener, a clear communicator, a trusted advisor who really puts the client's well-being first. And in a world that's, becoming increasingly dominated by technology, those uniquely human skills are more valuable than ever.
It's about that human touch, which, as you've highlighted, goes hand in hand with a strong ethical compass and a genuine desire to help people. And hey, listeners, as you continue exploring this field, remember, curiosity is your best friend. The financial landscape is constantly changing, so embrace lifelong learning and never stop asking questions. Who knows, maybe one day we'll be doing a deep dive on why you and your successful career as an investment advisor. Until then, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into what it really takes to be an investment advisor.